Live from the Coca-Cola Great Hall at Heinz Field, Pitt Panthers Television brings you Panthers Pregame.
Good morning, Panther Nation, and welcome to Heinz Field. This is Panthers Pregame. I'm Justin Downs, and with me this week, he did it all for 4 years at Pitt, Austin Ransom, and all the positions and changes. This guy, you literally did it all.
Yeah, true Renaissance man for Pitt, I guess you can say. Whatever the coaching staff needed me to do, I was willing to step up, change positions, even change numbers a couple of times and get it done for the Panthers.
And he knows a thing or two about the rivalry we have taking place today. The Pitt Panthers taking on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and it's always tough when the Irish come to town.
It really is. It's always a hard-fought battle when Notre Dame and Pitt play one another. It's almost like a second rivalry next to the backyard brawl with West Virginia.
For the first time this season, the Pitt Panthers will have to respond after a loss, and the reason is last week against Iowa, they suffered their first defeat of the season. Let's take a look now at those highlights. Ray Graham, he entered the game as the nation's leading rusher, and he was ready to go, but because of the crowd noise and all the extenuating circumstances, it was the defense that stepped up early.
Yeah, the defense looked outstanding in the first three quarters. They put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, made him make some tough throws that were incomplete, and right here you can see Jared Holley with a great interception, his first one of the season and 9th on his career.
Yeah, kind of ironic here that the defense and particularly the pass defense got things started, and Tino Sinceri off the fake gets the Panthers on the board with his 66-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Devin Street. Panthers up 7-0 early. The impact play of the game came with some razzle-dazzle, didn't it, Austin?
It sure did, and I think with Ray Graham being such a forceful running back, it made the defense go with him, leaving Cam Sandler to be wide open down the end to bring a nice touchdown.
And how about the pass from the freshman Ronald Jones? He was a quarterback in high school. He showed it there. And then on the ensuing possession, Panthers get another stop here in the third quarter.
You can see Juan Price right here, 2 sacks on the day as a freshman. He had an outstanding game and helped lead the defense.
That stop setting up this dial back to Main Street. Devin Street gets the Panthers inside the 5 once again. And Tino Sinceri would later connect on this play with freshman Drew Carswell, the tight end. And the Panthers were up 24-3. All looked well in Panther pride. It was out in full force, and then all of a sudden they had to settle. Right, they had to settle for a field goal here, though. And so it was 27-10 with about 10 minutes remaining in the ball game. And then all of a sudden, here come the Hawkeyes. Austin, what happened?
I don't know. It seemed like the defense just started giving up some big plays. Their quarterback, I think, went 14 passes in a row without an incompletion, and they just started connecting and picking apart our defense.
Yeah, and these highlights, these are not like repeats. These are 3 straight touchdown passes by James Vandenberg to give the Hawkeyes their biggest come-from-behind victory in program history, and the Panthers are on the losing end of it. So I'll ask you, this Panthers pass defense gave up 399 yards in this game, and they've allowed a 100-yard receiver in each game so far this season. How do they make the adjustments, and what will it take to beat Notre Dame?
They really need to step it up in their secondary. They gave up 162 yards in passing in the fourth quarter alone last game against Iowa. If they want to be successful against Notre Dame, the secondary needs to step it up because they're going to be going against the number 2 wide receiver in the country.
But the offense, I think, though, did do some things well. And part of the reason for that was our muscle milk power performer, and it was Devin Street, who had a phenomenal game. And like I said, it was a large reason that the Panthers were able to find success early. And the offense, I think, for the first time all year, really showed what they're capable of.
Yeah, I think it's the first time this year that we really got to see that high-octane offense that we've been waiting for. Devin Street had an outstanding game, 7 catches for almost 140 yards. He was truly dominating out there, and he finally solidified himself as an all-around good wide receiver. He's no longer just shown as that possession receiver just going to pick up the first down, but you can see that he's able to make the big catches and get great yards after the catch, setting up scoring drives.
We haven't heard a lot about him so far this season, but he might be the Panthers' most athletic wide receiver.
He really is, and he's actually leading the Panthers with receptions and yards in the wide receiver core. As you can see here with his stats, 7 receptions, averaging almost 20 yards a catch and 140 yards.
Definitely a great game from our muscle milk power performer. When we come back, Pat Bostic is going to diagnose the Panthers offense in further detail with a tape breakdown. That and more still to come on Panthers Pregame.
Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Gladly accepted at hospitals everywhere.
For the best coverage of University of Pittsburgh football, tune in to Pitt Panthers Television on the Comcast Network every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Panthers fans get an inside look at Pitt football with game replays, coaches' shows, press conferences, pre- and post-game shows, and more. Tune in to TCN Channel 188 or Channel 210 in some areas, and for a complete weekly programming schedule, visit PittsburghPanthers.com and click on the Watch and Listen tab at the top of the page. Pitt Panthers Television, your home for Pitt football, every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Gladly accepted by pharmacies everywhere.
Welcome back to Panthers pregame. And although the Panthers suffered their first loss of the season last Saturday, the offense really started to come to life. And with more on the Panthers offense, here's Pat Bostic with a tape breakdown.
The Panthers took the nation's leading rusher, Ray Graham, into last week's game against Iowa. They've built their running game on the zone read blocking scheme, a scheme with many options and answers for almost anything a defense can throw at it. In a tie football game midway through the first quarter, the Panthers dialed up the zone read. Lined up in a perfect formation for their triple option zone read, Tino motions Ray Graham into the backfield. Option number one is for Tino Sunseri to hand Ray Graham the football. Ray begins his track, and Tino places the ball in his stomach. Tino's read key is the defensive end. The defensive end closes on this play, so Tino pulls the football and begins to attack the perimeter of the defense. Option number two, Tino can run the football. Tino sees the corner coming to play though. He squats, he's got his eyes on Tino. Option number three is dump the ball to Devin Street down the sideline and waltz 66 yards for a touchdown. This is what the Panthers want from their zone read option game. Tino Sunseri to be a factor running the football and throwing it through the air.
Well, thanks so much to our MVP quarterback, Pat Bostic. Austin, I got to say, we talked about it a little bit already, but I think the Panthers offense did enough to win that game in Iowa.
I think the Panthers offense looked really good against Iowa. Tino Sunseri finally had great chemistry with his wide receivers. They connected on a lot of passes. He was over 70% with his pass efficiency. So I think the offense did really well out there today. We're finally seeing a little glimpse of that high-octane offense we've been hearing about, and I think the offense did an outstanding job.
That being said, if the Achilles heel is the Panthers' pass defense, what needs to change this week against Notre Dame?
I think you said it right there, Justin. The Panthers need to step it up in their pass defense. They blew a big lead in the fourth quarter. They were up almost 21 points because they're going against a great wide receiver core this year against Notre Dame. If they want to be successful, they can't give up the 150 passing yards in the fourth quarter and allow teams to get back in the game.
Well, the guy responsible for making all those changes is the guy I sat down with earlier this week, and that is head coach Todd Graham. Here's this week's Coach's Corner. Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's Coach's Corner. Once again, joined by head coach Todd Graham. Obviously, not the result that you anticipated going out to Iowa, but I thought your team did a lot of things well.
Well, I was really proud of our guys. I thought they played extremely hard, gave us everything that they had, left it on the field. To be up 24-3 at Iowa was pretty impressive for 3 quarters, but unfortunately you have to play 4 and made too many mental mistakes and continued to turn the football over, and it finally caught up to us in this game. But we've got to finish. You win close games and lose close games on leadership. And look no further than me, our staff, we've got to get our guys better prepared. We can't lose games like that in the fourth quarter. We've got to finish. But I am very proud of our guys and how hard they played, and they gave us everything they had.
Well, you said in the press conference this week as well, your team's not going to lick their wounds. They're going to prepare hard this week and go and get Notre Dame. What do you see in your team you think that makes you able to succeed against Notre Dame?
Well, I think what we seen last weekend. These guys went out and I challenged challenged them physically to dominate, and I thought we did that. I thought we took it to them, and it's be a similar type game. This is the best team that we've played so far. Notre Dame will be the best team offensively and defensively that we've played to this point, and we know we got to come out and play our best game. But the thing about Notre Dame is there's 3 teams around here: Penn State, West Virginia, and Notre Dame. You win those games, it goes up on the wall. So these guys know it's a big game, and I think they're pretty upset that we let one get away from us last week, and I look for them to come out and play hard.
When you look at the Pitt secondary, what are some things that you see? You're going to have to stop 2 big guys in Malcolm Floyd and Theo Riddick this week, among others. And the passing game has posed a little bit of trouble for your defense. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's not been a little; it's been a lot. We just haven't played well down the stretch. It's been the last 2 to 4 minutes of the game. We've given up most of our plays, and a lot of it has been through mental errors, miscommunications, and things like that. We got to tighten up. A lot of the big plays we've given up have resulted from trying to pressure and blitzing and learning a new package. There's been a lot of mental errors, but I got a lot of confidence in those guys. We're going to continue to get better. We're going to get those things fixed. There's nothing that is happening to us that I don't think that we can't correct, and we got to do it in a hurry because we're playing probably the best passing team we're going to play this next week.
The relationship between the 2 universities, Notre Dame and Pittsburgh, has been very well. Both, Notre Dame, obviously, they belong to the Big East in basketball, remained independent in football. And now with all these changes, when we look at the Big East and now the move to the ACC, how important is it to keep some of these relationships moving forward?
Well, I think that, I'm a traditionalist. I love college football, got a tremendous respect for it, the rivalry games especially, and this game, with Notre Dame, to have them on our schedule in the future, I think is important. It's important for college football and important for our program.
Well, that was head coach Todd Graham, and this was Coach's Corner. Well, as always, thanks to head coach Todd Graham for donating his time this week. And another man donating his time right now is Pitt Athletic Director Steve Peterson. He'll be live on the set when we return on Panthers Pregame.
Hello? Jimmy John's?
Jimmy John's.
That's fast.
Jimmy John's, freaky fast delivery.
Welcome back to Panthers Pregame live from Heinz Field, and it is my privilege now to be joined by Pitt Athletic Director Steve Peterson. Steve, it's great to have you here, and we got the chance to sit down earlier this week and talk about the initial move to the ACC. What kind of feedback have you gotten from friends, family, coworkers? What's it been like so far?
Well, it's been an exciting week in so many ways. Certainly when you're playing a great school like Notre Dame and been long-term partners with us in these kinds of games, we're excited about that. And then certainly for the future, to be talking about the Atlantic Coast Conference and what that means. Of course, we're fixated on winning the Big East this year.
Yeah.
But in the future, we are excited about the opportunities. We've gotten tremendous positive feedback really across the board. Everybody is talking about the excitement of this and the future, and it's important.
I think one of the things that people are most interested about, we kind of know what to expect from a football and basketball standpoint, but this also affects the Olympic sports greatly and then also the university academically.
Well, without a doubt, I would say that the Olympic sports will be some of the greatest beneficiaries of this move. Certainly in terms of the competition is great. Like institutions, you're talking about 13 other institutions that are very similar in their sport offerings, which is, I think, exciting. Also opens up recruiting bases for us that maybe haven't typically been good for us in terms of recruiting in the Olympic sports. Football and basketball, we've been pretty much able to recruit anywhere we want. But in these sports, it will open up tremendous areas, opens up great media markets, exposure up and down the eastern seaboard, and so it's really exciting in so many ways.
One sport in particular that comes to mind, I think, is lacrosse. And Syracuse has a great foundation in the ACC. It's already set with Duke, Maryland, and all those teams. Is lacrosse a sport that Pitt may be looking to add in the future?
Well, we don't have any plans to add any sports at this point. We want to be successful in the sports we have. We're bringing some sports in there that where we strengthen them, I think, in some areas in wrestling and sports like that. So, we've kind of focused on doing a good job in the things that we have set, and that's our plan right now.
When we look at this rivalry between Pitt and Notre Dame that's taking place today will mark the 67th meeting from these two teams, dating all the way back to 1909. What does that say about the relationship between these universities and then also the display that they put on the field?
Well, I think it's been such a great relationship and a healthy relationship. I think when you think about the kinds of games, it's the way the sport should be played. It's two great universities who are fixated on making sure they do the right thing for our student athletes. And when we come out on the field to play, we want to beat each other, but certainly we want to focus on all the right things about this. And Notre Dame's been one of the schools we've really enjoyed that kind of relationship with for so many years. And our national championship team is here today. All those guys played all their years a game against Notre Dame and loved that experience. And so I think we have great respect for the university, and I think we have so many things in common. It really makes the game special.
Is there a moment that sticks out to you since maybe you've been here throughout this rivalry? Is there one memory in particular that sticks out?
Well, I have to say that it's funny because I've been a part of some really exciting, thrilling kind of games with Notre Dame, but there was nothing quite like the overtime game where the sprinklers came on at the beginning of the overtime period. We had to shut the sprinklers off and then go in and score. And Connor Lee was something else, kicking field goals that day. It was really a special day, one of those kind of days you never forget.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate everything you've done, not only for us today, but for the entire university each and every day. And when we're talking about memories, one of the things we want to look at is the Heinz Field moment. And these have been played each and every one of the past few weeks. And what they do is they give us a chance to look back at the greatest moments in Heinz Field's 10-year history.
On November 16, 2006, the Backyard Brawl provided the setting for what may be the greatest play ever to take place at Heinz Field.
Punt formation for Pat McAfee. The snapper is Tim Lindsay, and he does the rugby-style kick, and the Panthers let it hit, and it goes inside to 30, picked up on the bounce there by Revis. He's giving ground. He gets a block, turns the corner at the 20. He's at the 25, and he's knocked out of bounds. No, he's coming up the sideline. Here he comes to the 50, and he's going down the field. He's got inside the 25, still on his feet, inside the 20, still on his feet, and he's in the end zone for a touchdown. Darrelle Revis. The Panthers have said all year, this guy's going to break one. I can't describe what he did, how many tackles he broke. He got a block to get sprung, but then he did the rest on his own. This guy is just unbelievable.
Darrelle Revis' 73-yard return was voted the 2006 College Football Play of the Year by ESPN and will always be remembered as one of the greatest plays in the history of Pitt football. In honor of 10 years at Heinz Field, we're remembering the greatest plays of the past decade. You can help us select the Panthers All-Decade Team by logging on to pittsburghpanthers.com/all-decade team.
Well, I think that certainly is a viable option for number one, and I'm joined now back with Austin Ransom. And you were number 82 at the end of that play. You were diving on the pile. What was going through your mind, and did you realize at the time how significant that play would be?
I didn't at the time, but it's just pure excitement. Even now, watching it almost 4 years after the fact, I still get chills watching it. You can see all the hype and excitement from all the coaches and the players on the sideline just running up and down with Revis when we saw that play, and it even got nominated for an ESPY. So it just shows that it's one of those greatest plays that we'll ever see at Heinz Field, especially from Darrelle Revis. You can see at such a young age his athletic ability and his ability to make such big plays happen out of nothing.
You were on the team for a bunch of great memories. I mean, you played in several rivalry games, not only with West Virginia, but also with Notre Dame as well. Any of those moments stick out to you? I know Steve Peterson just said, that game with the sprinklers coming on and everything, that was a pretty crazy one.
Yeah, my senior year, 2008, when we played Notre Dame down in South Bend, just the tradition surrounding that. But 5 overtimes, it goes down in history as the longest collegiate football game ever in NCAA history. So that's a memory that I'll always have forever, especially that we left there with a victory. It doesn't get better than that.
When you look at rivalry games, and as a former player, I guess more so, what kind of buildup is there to this atmosphere? I mean, is there anything that prepares you for a game like this if you haven't experienced it before?
Just past tradition prepares you. You get to hear stories from all the greats that played in those same games, rivalries that have been going on for 60 years. That's really all you need to prepare for it. There's so much hype surrounding it that's all you need to kind of pick up your spirits and get ready for that game.
Well, we are going to take a break here on Panthers Pregame. When we return, we'll take a drive around the Big East brought to you by Chevy, and we'll get you set up for the Pitt and Notre Dame matchup. That and more coming your way on Panthers Pregame.
Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Gladly accepted by doctors everywhere. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Gladly accepted by leading specialists everywhere.
Well, welcome back to Panthers Pregame. Right here you see the Big East Conference standings as they currently stand. West Virginia and USF, the only two ranked teams, and they are at the top of the conference, and they've looked impressive so far this season, Austin.
They really have. West Virginia has a huge game coming up this week, and we'll see how good the Big East fares.
With that, let's now take our Chevy drive around the Big East. I'm going to go game by game, Austin, and then you tell me who's going to win and why. We'll actually start with a game that was already played on Thursday. Cincinnati coming away with a 44-14 victory over NC State. Does that impress you?
It does. Cincinnati had a commanding victory over NC State. I think Zach Collaros finally played like the quarterback that we saw a couple years past. He put up great numbers. He was able to do it in the air and with his feet to get that victory.
Now, this is a game you've got this team on upset alert. It's Toledo at Syracuse, and you like Toledo.
I do. This is my Big East upset alert game of the week. I think Toledo's a strong team this year. I think they'll actually win the MAC, their conference. But so far this year, they beat New Hampshire. They played well on the road against Ohio State, who was a ranked opponent. And even last week against Boise State, they looked good. They fell apart in the fourth quarter. Keep your eye on Eric Page, their all-purpose player, wide receiver, punt returner, kick returner. I think he'll give the Orangemen some trouble.
All right, you heard it from Austin Ransom first. Ohio at Rutgers. Ohio 3-0, Rutgers 1-1.
I won't let the standings and their record fool me. I think Rutgers, even though they struggled a little bit this year, they'll come out strong at home and get the victory.
UTEP at USF. Is there any way that South Florida, as well as they've played so far this season, is there any chance that they fall?
Not at all. I think this is a no-brainer that South Florida is going to get the victory here. They're looking really good. They're putting up more yards and more points than any other team in the country, and I think they'll steamroll through UTEP.
Now, the game prime time tonight is the one that, you know, if you're scoreboard watcher, you're going to be looking at LSU going into the Mountaineers' realm down there in West Virginia and Morgantown. It could be a trap game for LSU, but they've got one of the best secondaries in the country.
Yeah, this is going to be quite the battle. It's the first time ever in school history that College Game Day has been down in Morgantown. So you know how great their fans are already, that they'll be able to support their team and help them bring home a victory. Unfortunately, no matter how good West Virginia's wide receiver core is, I think last week they had three wide receivers with over 8 catches and 100 yards. I don't think they're a match for LSU's defense. They have the best defense in the country. They have a powerful front four with their defensive tackles that I think they'll give Geno Smith a lot of pressure, and their secondary is the best in the country too. I think they'll be able to shut down West Virginia's high-powered offense, and with the little offense that LSU has, I think they'll be able to pull off a victory against West Virginia this weekend.
And, of course, the matchup we're all waiting to see, the one that kicks off at noon today. The Fighting Irish coming into Heinz Field, taking on the Pitt Panthers in their 67th meeting of all time. Now, Notre Dame's pretty much dominated this series, but the Panthers have really come on lately, and although they lost last season, they're well prepared to take on the Irish today.
Yeah, I think even with the loss last week against Iowa, they're able to use that adversity and help get them a victory today. Every team plays better coming off of a loss. So as unfortunate it is for a loss, it couldn't have came at a better time. But I think that the nerves of the players, they had a solid week of practice, and they will be able to get ready and win this game.
I mean, and here you see some of the tradition, I mean, that this rivalry entails. I mean, this is going to be, everybody's looking at the spread offenses and thinking that this is going to be a shootout. But this is always a hard-hitting affair. I mean, you've played in this game. What's it like down on the field?
Yeah, this game is never one-sided. It's always a hard-fought battle that will probably come down to the final plays.
And one of the other things we want to touch on, if you look at the comparison, by the way, there's you, number 86 there, looking good in your Pitt jersey. But one of the things we want, when we look at the team comparison here, and you look at the offenses, you've got 400 yards of total offense on each side. And then you look at the defenses, and what the Panthers have kind of struggled with is the passing defense. So 3 big receivers for the Irish, Jones, Riddick, and then obviously Malcolm Floyd, and they're led by a sophomore quarterback. Does that pose a problem? I mean, when you look at these two teams, what are we looking for?
It does pose a problem, and this can't be one of those games that the Panthers let up in their secondary. They need to focus. I heard they had a hard week in practice with their secondary, and they need to be able to stop this wide receiving core. If they're able to match up with these wide receivers and shut them down, their quarterback is very inexperienced that he'll force passes, which will cause turnovers for Pitt. That's going to be the key to a Panthers victory here, is being able to shut down those wide receivers.
Well, we're going to take a break right here on Panthers Pregame. When we come back, we'll give you the final analysis. We'll give you the players to watch and the keys to victory right here from Heinz Field.
The best coverage of University of Pittsburgh athletics is on Pitt Panthers Television on the Comcast Network every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Panthers fans can find game replays, coaches' shows, pregame shows, and the most comprehensive coverage of Pitt sports anywhere on TCN Channel 188 or Channel 210. For a complete weekly programming schedule, visit PittsburghPanthers.com and click on the Watch and Listen tab at the top of the page. Pitt Panthers Television, 8 straight hours of Pitt programming every Sunday from 11 to 7.
Now we're back here once again on Panthers Pregame. Justin Downs and Austin Ransom. When you look at the Panthers' upcoming schedule, this is the last game before they head into conference play. So how important is it for them to get started off on a good note here?
It's very important, Justin, and this is a must-win game for the Pitt Panthers. UCF is a Thursday night game that they're going to be coming off of a short week of practice. With that being said, they're going to need all the momentum from a Notre Dame victory, the win over Notre Dame this weekend, that will carry them into the upcoming game against South Florida.
When you look now at the starting lineups, let's set those for you while we get started here. Notre Dame's got a kid in Tommy Reese that took over for Dane Christ. Dane Christ, a senior quarterback who was very highly touted coming out of high school. He gets replaced by the sophomore Reese, and so far Tommy's done well.
Yeah, he has. He's made a couple of mistakes in this game, but he's looking more composed in the pocket, and he's able to make some big plays for Notre Dame when they need him the most.
Defensively, a 3-4 set for the Irish. Johnson, Nix, and Lewis Moore all over 300 pounds up front. Really, size is something that they've got throughout that Notre Dame lineup.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame has a lot of size and a lot of speed in their defense, which has been helping them.
And when we look at Pitt, obviously one of the things we're going to see on their offense, we were told last night that left guard and senior Chris Jacobson out for the season with a left knee injury. He will have surgery later on this week, but he will not be in the starting lineup. So when we look at those, we see the rest of the regulars, but Matt Rotherham will be in there at left guard for the injured Chris Jacobson. On defense, the only real change for the Panthers is Todd Thomas coming in at the spur linebacker position. And as we move on now and take a look at the players to watch, two guys that you really like, Ray Graham for Pittsburgh. He's probably one guy that you could put up there every week. And, of course, Malcolm Floyd, the wide receiver for Notre Dame.
Yeah, keep your eye on Ray Graham this game. He's coming into the game as the 5th leading rusher in the country. He's going to be the key to a Panthers victory. But also keep your eye on Malcolm Floyd, the number 2 receiver in the country. That Pitt's going to have to stop him in order to win this game.
We're running out of time here, but give me 3 keys for a Panthers victory real quickly here.
My 3 keys to a Panther victory will be 1, the defense needs to step it up in the secondary. 2, they need to win the turnover battle. And 3, and most importantly, is Pitt needs to be able to play all 4 quarters. So far this year, they've only played 3 quarters of a game. They haven't played a full 60-minute game yet, and it's the reason the Panthers haven't been able to be successful.
Each week so far in the Panthers 2011 campaign, we've been able to say that this is the biggest game of the season right here on Panthers Pregame, and it's no different this week. Pitt Notre Dame, the biggest game of the season so far for the Pittsburgh Panthers.
Hands down, biggest game of the year. A must-win game for the Panthers.
A must-win game, and we are looking forward. Also, we will see you after the game. We're looking forward to a Panther victory. We're going to cross our fingers and hope for the best here against the luck of the Irish. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you after the game right here on Comcast.